Hello and welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Wednesday, May the 16th. My name's Eric Wilkinson. Some of you may recognize me as the Wolfman from CNBC, Fox Business, or even the Wall Street Journal for my commentary on everything from economic to geopolitical and market analysis. Please take a moment to read over this disclaimer as it says that everything I talk about in these market commentaries is for informational purposes only. We are here to teach you some different strategies and teach you how to trade, but it's up to you to implement those things in your own way. One other thing is please remember that past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. Having all that out of the way, let's get it on with some economic data. Across the pond, we got German final CPI month over month came in unchanged at 0%. French final CPI came in at 1.2%. Core CPI came in at 0.7%. And then what else did we get across the pond? Manufacturing sales came in at 1.4%, expected to be 1.1%, and they revised last month's number up from 1.9% to 2.7%. And sorry, that was Canadian manufacturing sales. Here in the United States, we got building permits coming in at 1.35 million. Expected to be 1.35 million, right in line with expectations. Last month's number was expected to be 1.35 as well. It came in at 1.38 million, so slightly higher than expected there on the revisions. But remember, that only has to do. You can pull as many permits as you want. It just doesn't mean you're gonna. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna build. Showing up in housing starts, we got 129 million starts expected to be, 1.29 million. Units expected to be 1.32 million units. So a little bit lower than expected. So you can pull those permits and not actually build. Capacity utilization came in at 78%, expected to be 78.4, but they did lower last month's number from 78 to 77.6. So double downward on that one. And industrial production came in at 0.7%, expected to be 0.6%. Revised last month's number up from 0.5 to 0.7, so much better than expected on industrial production. Then finally, we got crude oil inventories coming in at a drawdown of 1.4 million barrels, expected to be a drawdown of 1.1 million barrels. They left last month's number unrevised, did not revise it, so in line there. One thing I did want to note is anybody trading off of API has got to be out of their minds, you guys. API is a voluntary assessment of crude oil inventories, gasoline, and things of that nature. They don't have to tell you exactly what it is. So they could be lying to meet their position because API comes out before the DOE, so they get those spikes in both directions. And I think it's a game that they play. I would stay away from trading off of API because those guys can lie and they don't get in trouble. If they lie to the DOE, though, there are serious consequences because that's the government. They have to report the actual numbers. So always look at the DOE, you guys. But anyway, crude oil inventories I mentioned. Gasoline was a drawdown of 3.79 million barrels. Distillates a drawdown of 750,000 barrels. Cushing slightly increased by 62,000 barrels. The gasoline was a drawdown. That was the API, and then the API came out with a 4.8 million barrel build, expected to be the drawdown. Real number, DOE came in at 1.4 million drawdown. Cushing came in at 53,000 increase. Gasoline came in at a drawdown of 3.79 million barrels, and distillates a drawdown of 92,000 barrels. So you guys, all of those numbers completely different than what you get from the API, and it's supposed to be the same information. But what we gather from all of this stuff from the DOE, we're seeing gasoline drawdowns, distillate drawdowns, crude oil drawdowns, and we're seeing production at historical highs basically here in the United States. So massive production, big drawdowns, showing demand because we're increasing supply, or we're increasing what goes into the supply chain, but supply is actually dropping off due to consumption. So that really should cause crude oil to move a little bit higher, but it's struggling today, only up 21 cents. Then we've got Gold, after yesterday's bloodbath in there, we got below the 200-day moving average, and it was like a free fall. Today, finding a little bit of support, but it's probably going to end up going down to the point of control. That's just a magnet that it's going to have to find. So don't think it's going to just stop short here. I think it's actually going to continue down there. But we have the rest of the day to see how that pans out. Right now, that would look like a nice little bottom, right? Especially if we got confirmation to the top, confirmation tomorrow and trading above. If this were all to settle out right here, that is, basically up into the 1300, settle in 1300s would definitely be a confirmation. If this chart setup looked like this at the end of the day, we may see it very well extend down. But I'm just saying from that point of view. Bitcoin coming off a little bit. Everybody's worried about the 8,000 mark. I still think it's got to go down to that 6,000 mark first, give it a double bottom here. I think that would make it a very solid case for a bull assumption if we got a double bottom and bounced off of it. That's what I think needs to happen. Everybody's kind of clamoring it needs to go higher now, but I think technically speaking, it's got to go down there and test all the weak hands. Bonds continue to slump off. This crude oil number is going to help that because that's showing demand. And when you get demand in crude oil and things of that nature, especially some of the other byproducts of that crude oil, that means the economy is starting to pick up, or it's at least an indicator of it. And then we've got the VIX coming off a little bit. That 15 handle might be gone for several weeks now. Hopefully not, but as of right now, it doesn't look like it really wants to move up any. We got the Dow Jones Industrial Average unchanged for all intents and purposes, for the most part. Down 21 on the day can be made up in a matter of seconds in the Dow. The NASDAQ positive 21 on the day. It's not a indication of anything right now, you guys, with this market action today. It's still a bearish move after yesterday's big sell-off in that topping pattern, and basically Dow, E-mini S&Ps, and of course here in the NASDAQ. And we can see it on the E-mini S&P chart, confirmation of this top, bounce off the 61 fib. That's the extensions, came back down. We did settle above this 50 extension fib, but today's movement really is giving us no indication at all. It's still, bearish to the downside, probabilities to the downside anyway. Overnight inventory pretty flat today in the early morning sessions, pushing higher by about 6 points right now, near the highs of the day. But you can see that there's just a lot of consolidation going on here, not a whole lot of trade. Pretty quiet day for the most part. And I haven't picked any new stocks to add to my portfolio. Still kind of trying to concentrate on these earnings. We got CSCO coming out with earnings after the close. I haven't decided what I want to do with CSCO. My bias is leaning towards the upside, but I might be throwing a strangle around this one. I haven't watched CSCO in quite a while, and I'm going to be throwing a dart at the dartboard on this one. But kind of leaning towards the strangle right now, but may play it to the upside. Don't think I'm going to play that one to the downside. Walmart playing to the upside. With this whole order online pickups and stuff like that, my wife's saying that they basically have a whole set of stalls for people to come in and pick up their groceries, and it's about 10 or 15 of those, and that's here in Scottsdale. So, and those are being used quite readily. She said she had to wait the other day to go get her pickup. I think that's going to help them on sales, profit margin, everything else. So I'm going to play Walmart to the upside. I think that is really working out well for them. All right, that's it for today. That's all I got for you guys. Watch Friday's webinar. It's going to be on the put butterfly. All right, I'm going to show you how to set that up the right way to increase your probabilities of success. All right, so I'm going to show you what environment to set this up. How much collection do you need to collect on a short put butterfly in order to make this a successful trade? I'll talk about how to increase those probabilities tomorrow, so check it out. Thursday, it's no longer Friday, we're doing it Thursday. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, like, or dislike. If you give me a dislike, let me know what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it, all right? That's all I got. If you can't take that, take it easy.